Chapter 16, Journeys and Sacrifices. Silas and Paul are together in a new journey. This is the second missionary journey of Paul, where he's traveling to several different cities, from Antioch to Derbe, Iconium, Lystra, and then later to the famous Philippi, and from there back to Corinth, Ephesus, and then Jerusalem again. So our journey begins here when he's traveling to Tarsus, to his city. There they go to the Taurus Mountains. And in this most beautiful chapter, we could say that in these journeys and sacrifices, it's about the accreditation of mediumship. The whole chapter gives us many examples, passages in which Paul and his companions, in every city where they went, the mediumship in itself, that at the time was called prophecy, was actually the gateway for Christ's messages to come true. From bringing consolation and healings to bringing healings, mediumship was the bridge between these two worlds. So let us revisit two passages. In this accreditation of mediumship, we have this most beautiful passage when Paul, in this journey, he hears a loving voice saying, "Press on. Take the light of heaven to other places of darkness. Others are awaiting you on the way to infinity." Here, a parenthesis for us. One first reflection. We are also called to press on, because the teachings that now we have are being awaited by others. What are we doing to share it? Of course, you can say our own example, but not of perfection. The most important example is of effort. That's why in Spiritism we learn that the good Spiritist is not the one that is perfect, but the one that makes efforts to control himself, to work on his inner transformation. And let us remember, inner transformation is a process. It's not something that happens overnight. It's not like an instant shift. The shift is just one of the steps of a journey that has many steps. And it reminds me also of a passage that happened to the Brazilian medium Chico Xavier, when once someone came from another Spiritist center and said, complaining to him, "Oh, Chico, you know, the speaker at that center, the speaker is not very aligned to the teachings that he's teaching." And he was puzzled. He didn't know how to address it until Emmanuel came along and shared with Chico, and then Chico shared with this person, saying, you know, at least that person is trying. The more he speaks or she speaks about it, the more it's going to be engraved in his heart. But then, what are you doing? Just complaining, pointing the finger? So what about us? It's the call. Others are awaiting you on the way to infinity. Can each one of us help out? Yes. So brainstorm at this moment with someone next to you. And if you don't have anyone, you can dive into this reflection by writing down, making a list on how you can better yourself in a way that you can bring this good news of this message that can change our lives, for sure, to other people. Sometimes with a smile, sometimes with a change in attitude at work or in our own families, or renunciation regarding to our most mundane behaviors. Let's think about it. The other point of culmination in regard to mediumship in this chapter is when later on he is at a passage, he sees this vision, someone waving to him and asking for help, And he shares this with the people who are with him, Timothy and Silas, and they are speechless. That's what Emmanuel describes. Sometimes that's what's going to happen to us. The vision comes to us, not necessarily people around us. We'll understand immediately, but we need to trust, have this gut feeling. And what did he do? He went to the harbor of that city, and who was there? Luke. And in this most beautiful dialogue with Luke, he says, Luke, you are the doctor, but now Jesus is calling you to be the doctor of the soul. Because the doctor of the body, the medicine of the body, in one way or another, it's going to perish. But you're being called to help at the healing of the soul. And Luke partakes into this venture with them in this second missionary journey with them, which is so special as well. Another moment that they face is when he's imprisoned, and in prison he takes all the opportunities to share what has enlightened his life, and praying fervently. The doors of the prison open in the middle of the night. They get out. He meets the prisoners, teaches the gospel, and then in the morning, at the first hours of the morning, the guard is desperate and is about to take his own life, because he knew if people saw what was going to happen to him, because he was sleeping while the doors were open, the prisoners could fly away, could run away. And then Paul says, no, don't do it. Why? Because no one can close the doors that link us to heaven. So there is no need. We're not going to escape. We are actually prisoners of Christ. That's one of the last chapters in this book that is revived here. And another most important moment is when they reach the city of Philippi. In the city of Philippi, we have the example of this obsession. You may be asking, what is obsession then? In Spiritism we call it, you can call it also spirit attachment. Obsession is this persistent negative influence that one spirit exerts onto others. This is in the Medium's book, chapter 23. And what was happening there? Philippi had no temple. Philippi, when he arrived there, no church, no temple, and there were only women and children. And here is Emmanuel telling us that for those who think Paul was chauvinistic, he wasn't. Because to the astonishment of Silas, Luke, and Timothy, he embraced the community. And he also accepted to be hosted by Lois. And in that city, they are preaching successfully for days. And there is one psychic woman who arrives at the scenery. And every day saying, oh, here are the prophets. Here are the prophets. And Paul, in a mediumistic insight, sees that she's being obsessed and expels the spirit. This obsesses the girl. From that day on, she doesn't have any psychic powers anymore. Of course, they will be persecuted by the people of the oracle who were taking profit of that psychic. And there, another lesson for us: the accreditation of a gospel-aligned mediumship. And to wrap this up, the struggles. One most important teaching for us. Emmanuel says, despite their efforts at new and each work, there was a new dedication and new struggles. But after all, Paul understands that it's worth facing the struggles, because where there is a struggle, there will always be a fruit to harvest. What is the fruit to harvest in our lives? Let us think about it and prepare for the next chapter, chapter 17.